Alrighty, folks, we just did a deep dive one-on-one that is available on the school community of Beth Traverso's portfolio. We gave her some strategies or ideas on how she could move forward and get to her financial freedom goals. What we're going to do here, because we have Beth Traverso, a top 1% agent, I just found an article that I want to share, get Beth's immediate reaction, and then have the three amigos kind of talk about, because I think this is going on. I think it's impacting people across the country. You guys ready for this?
Ready.
Ready.
All right. So let me see if I can share screens so the technology is working. All right. Can you see this?
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
Beth, according to
yeah.
Newsweek, realtors are running out of money. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know that the housing market has been in a transaction depression. And if you don't know how realtors are paid, they are paid at the completion of transactions, not to mention the NAR lawsuit, buyer agent, this or that. Looks like, Beth, there's going to be a lot less real estate agents going forward, and realtors are running out of money. What are your thoughts?
Right. So I think that it's true what they're saying. I think that the number of agents is going to drop quite a bit more in the next year or two for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's like you can be a real estate agent and make no money. Like technically, you can have a license and make no money. And even before this tough market, that's how it was. There was a few agents making all the money and doing all the deals, and then a few hobbyists, well, a lot of hobbyists, and then those are the ones that are going to be forced out if they rely on it for their income. If this really is just a hobby and they're like, I'll just pay my fees and hang my license and do the random deal that comes here and there, those may still hang around. But all the ones that were in business for, like this is their livelihood, but they weren't really selling a lot of houses, those are the ones that I think are going to suffer the most. And they are maybe looking for other employment sources or things, other ways to make income as this is getting harder and harder. And especially with that lawsuit and all the fallout from that. And that's going to be tough on buyer agents in particular. And but as licensed need to renew, they're gonna stop renewing them, and that number is going to drop down. But I know in Washington, at least, our licenses are good for 2 years, every 2 year cycle. So we'll see that probably start to drop after some time. And then the people that are so the listing agents, I think, are still doing pretty well because, well, I mean, a lot of them are, even though transactions are down, even for me, and I'm very much listing focused. The cost of doing business, is still what it is. And I run my business like a business. I have a marketing budget, et cetera, et cetera. I look at where my revenue is coming from and make sure I'm supporting those sources, but it costs money to do that. And I haven't skipped a beat on any of my marketing and everything I do to keep my brand top of mind, because that's where my bread is buttered, is from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I don't use paid lead sources like a lot of agents, especially with big teams, pay a ton of fortune to like Zillow and places like that. And I'm not doing that. I did years ago, but I don't do that anymore now that I get my own. So so people that don't have the huge budget to keep going out every month to pay for whatever marketing they're doing, stop doing it. But then that's a self-fulfilling cycle, because if you don't market, you're gonna fall away from being top of mind. And people don't have the budget for that. So I've kept doing it because I've always made sure I just make sure that I'm not cutting off my own lead source so that I'm not getting business to keep the doors going. And I feel like I'm capturing more market share now than ever because of some of those things I've been doing. But it costs a lot of money to do that. And if somebody doesn't have it, they can't spend it, they need it so it just goes, it's tough out there. So I think that it's going to become more challenging as time goes on.
Yeah, I think it is most obvious today in with real estate agents struggling, not paying the bills, leaving the business. But the point that I want to bring this up with the three amigos is the easy money is over. Right? For 3 or 4 years, the housing market's it's been pretty hard not to make money. Right? If you were a crappy flipper, you made money. If you were a Airbnb, this or that, you made money. If you were a wholesaler, you made money. But as transactions have collapsed, as the Fed broke housing, it's going to be a lot harder the next 2 years. And really, the point of all of this is the true operators, the folks that do the work, we're going to finally win. We've been competing with a bunch of charlatans who got lucky and had good timing. It's about to get really good. And for you as a top 1% agent, you're going to gain market share. It's a known fact because the other ones are going to disappear. You're not going to skip a beat on marketing, and you're going to win. This is what happens when the tide goes out. A lot of people are swimming naked, and they're going to go somewhere else. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I think you, me, and Dion, we were very nice. We gave them a PSA a year and a half ago.
We tried.
Better go get a bartending job. Better go get some sort of a side hustle.
Barista,
Because,
baby.
It's hey, didn't I buy my house from you 3 years ago? And now you're getting me a Coke. That's pretty interesting. But I think that that's going to happen across the board. We're already seeing it. I see it all the time. Teams that were 12, 15, 18 people are now 5. But I remember the Great Recession. I remember my mortgage broker that I was using at the time go from 33 to 2 in 6 months. 33 to 2. And I was like, he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm still busy. And I was like, cool. And then even he didn't get busy enough. He wasn't busy enough. So I think that it's going to continue that trend, but this is the cleansing of the process. You get all the guys that the best thing that they can do is pay somebody to do a flame thumbnail, because they couldn't make it as a mortgage broker, or they couldn't make it as a underwriter, or they couldn't make it, as a real estate agent. There's going to be a lot more of those. Sadly, there's going to be a lot more useless, channels out there of real estate agents that didn't make it. But there's no way to stem that tide because, like Beth said, the established, like Beth, this is a share gain opportunity. Down markets for great agents is where they build their business, not in great markets. It's the bad ones because all the pretenders go away.
Totally agree. Dion, what are your thoughts on this?
So one of the really hard things with teaching anybody anything is remembering what it's like to not know something. We are all in this sphere where we see this terminology. We understand the headline. The vast majority of people in the United States will look at that headline and perceive it differently than we did. How many times have you heard somebody in your personal sphere in the last couple of years go, "Ooh, I wouldn't want to own those rentals that you do. Interest rates have gone up so much. You've got to be in pain."
Yeah.
Right. Do higher interest rates impact somebody who has fixed rate debt?
No.
No, our asset value is doing great, but because that fixed rate debt. When somebody says realtors are hurting because of the housing market dying, basically, they're thinking investor. They're not thinking agent. Realtor to us means it's the trademarked word that means agent, but to the average American, realtor is somebody who works in the real estate world. And so you're going to see people thinking housing is terrible because people are losing. How many realtors own a rental, right? It's less than 90, more than 90% never own one rental is the statistic I hear often. And so the other thing is, who else is this impacting? Because here's the warning. Lenders are dying on the vine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luckily, the one with the YouTube channel has a mom's basement to live in. And when they fail at that, they can go do that.
Yeah.
Talk about the housing crash coming. So what happens when agents think my career that I was shooting for is going away? The lenders think my job is probably going to get laid off. My company's not doing great. Ethics can drop. Desperation can kick in. Pushing adjustable rate mortgages to try to get anything to close
second mortgages.
Right, second mortgage. Oh, you got to tap that equity. It's going to go away. You got to use it while you can. So all of those high pressure sales is going to hit the investors out there who need to stay focused on what they're doing. Be careful of that desperation. And then, so here's the solution for the agents out there, right? I'll do this as quick as I can. This is the business triangle. So think of a business triangle. At the base down here, you have the generalist. So this would be your contractor, your dentist, your surgeon, your whatever. And then if you go up the triangle to where people make more money, you have the orthodontist, the surgeon, the plumber, the electrician, like you get specialized. But at the very top of the peak, to get to that top of the business triangle, you need what is called celebrity authority, right? If you're in Northwest, Pacific Northwest, if I said Beacon's Plumbing, You probably think of a Seahawks player standing on the back of a plumbing truck because he was back there holding a football on the back of every one of their logoed trucks. Do you think he's a plumber? No, right? They needed celebrity authority. So let's look at Arizona. There's a YouTube channel called for a guy named Javier Vidana, right? I'm not an agent. I don't watch his stuff. I'm not a home buyer. He's mostly talking to home buyers, not investors. Do you think he's ever struggled to find somebody to buy or sell a home through when he has 400 or 500 people show up to every live stream? Millennial Mike talks about this often. If you want to be an investor, make a YouTube channel and talk about Gary, Indiana, become the king of Gary, Indiana. And anybody talks real estate in Gary, Indiana, his name pops up, and he lives in Washington. So he's getting all of these deals to happen. If you're an agent and you are not maximizing social media, making a YouTube channel, trying to become that celebrity authority in your realm, it's going to be a lot harder going forward.
Yeah. I think that I'm, of the four of us, I'm the guy who studies the economy, the guy that kind of looks and tries to make guesses or predictions. I told you this was coming. I remember having a conversation with a gentleman named Brian Lebo. He talked about something he calls MAL. It stands for months of life. This is something that Brian talked about, I think, over a year ago. Beth and I talked about it following that up. It's like, do real estate agents really understand how much outgo versus, how much income and savings they have? Because you really need to understand that what worked the last 2 years won't work the next 2 years. I know there's a lot of people, in fact, I'm going to talk to one of them in about 10 minutes, who spends 6 figures a month on marketing. And I guarantee you some of that is not well used today. It's a channel that worked last year, but it won't work next year. Folks, it is time to get ruthless on your expenses. So you have a year, 18 months of life. The other thing I want to tell you is this too shall pass. We're going to go through, the real estate depression is not over. Transactions are going to be below 4.5 for a couple of more years. But if you can right size, you can gain share like Beth will, it's really, really good on the other side. You will have years to take advantage of your reputation and the business as other newbies come back. Recessions, I don't know why this is so hard for people to get. Recessions are really where you build wealth. You take advantage of the opportunity. You got to get ready to be ready. This is the time to do the work. So we're going to go around the horn one more time. Closing thoughts. We'll start with Beth. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yep, I agree. This is the time. And it's like, this is nothing new, but it's going to be continuing for some time now. So I think those that were hoping it was just going to be a blip on the radar and ride it out, like sometimes things are, this is going to be more, this is going to be, I want to say necessarily long term, but we better buckle up for the next couple years. I think, it's not going to change anytime soon, but like you said, those that are able to pivot and lean up and lean into the right things are going to do well, but you got to adjust your expectations and you got to really do the work. It's been too easy for too long. And I, for one, welcome it because it's very well known out there in the agent community that there's a bunch of people out there that probably have no business with a license that need to get flushed out. So it's better for the rest of us. So there's some good here too. So I focus on that.
Agreed.
There you go. Matt, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, I'm not doing a 1031 on one of the properties I'm selling just to create cash, just straight cash, because I think that it makes sense to have that much more cash. And then if we start seeing some of the corrections, some of the reductions, things like that on some of these bigger assets, sure, I gave up the 15%, but I had flexibility and I want to go into it with having as much dry powder as I possibly can.
I like it.
Let's do that. So I think you have to look at your portfolio, and if you have the opportunity to recapitalize, recast, sell something off, like you should look to do that.
There you go. Dion, closing thoughts?
A really smart person once said a recession is when your neighbor gets laid off. A depression is when you get laid off. Eventually it's going to hit your industry too. Right? A couple of years ago, coders said, well, at least nobody can ever replace us. And now people are saying, well, AI is 10 years away from replacing coders. 10 years, that's a decade. So if you're 10 years into your work, you need more than that on that runway. And then it's realtors now. Beginning of last year, it was tech. Tech had all the layoffs. Whatever industry you're in, my biggest fear whenever we go into any recession is never for the investor. Right? And home prices went up 4 out of the last 6 recessions. And one of those recessions was caused by housing crash. So the majority of the time, home values are going to go up and during a recession. My fear is for the person with one source of income, whether you're an agent, you're a lender, you're a truck driver, you're a cop, you're working tech sales, whatever you do, get other forms of income, buy those cash flowing assets. That's why we're all here. It's what we're making this content for.
Yeah. Folks, at the end of the day, what I want you to realize is recessions are normal. They generally last 18 months. The boom times are 8 to 10 years. You don't get ready in a recession. You got to be ready now. You got to get ready now so that you can take advantage. You will be amazed at the wealth and opportunities you will see in a recession. The ability to take down large transactions with nearly no cash. It will happen, but you got to be ready. You got to build a network. You got to be in a community that's supportive. If you want to be a part of One Rental at a Time, like, subscribe, comment. You want to be a part of Dion, Matt's channel, Lumberjack, Dion Talk. It's all there. You want a reference to a top 1% agent, BethTraversoGroup.com. We're all here for you. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Later.
Ciao.
Bye.
Yeah.